Oh, you have birds in the background.
I do have birds.
They're
Wait, there are no birds in the background.
no, no. I meant you. I can literally hear chirp, chirp,
Oh, like
chirp.
outside.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, this is my kitchen. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to my humble abode. For the
guys.
first time,
Kevin figured out his audio and his computer and
we
his
are
video,
back, baby.
and by figured out, he got rid of a computer and got a new one.
No, it feels great. I've got the AC blasting right here. I've got a nice little light. I've got my beautiful plants behind me. This is it.
Do you name your plants? You
I-
look like someone who might.
Derogatory or complimentary?
I don't know. I said it, and I don't know.
You thought about it.
I did. I don't know.
Okay. Some plants I've had for like over like 4 or 5 years. So I've got a fig tree that I'm looking at right now that I've named Nona, like Italian grandmother Nona. I've got a monstera in the corner over there that's massive that I call Ari. And then I've got like a...
Wow, you really just Ariana Grande, like you're like her Nona.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. I meant like Ari Lennox, not Ariana Grande.
Oh, well, speaking of Ariana Grande, rest in peace to her Nona.
Oh, rest in peace, Nona. Yeah.
I know.
And then I've got one other plant that just looks like Tina Turner, so I call it Tina. That's it. And I've got others, but they don't have names. That's fine.
I have a monstera that keeps growing, and I need it to stop.
Yeah.
I needed her to stop.
Yeah.
It's getting a little wild. And then I have a plant that is what is it? You mentioned, what's your second plant?
The Monstera fig tree. You have a fig tree?
What's behind you?
I don't know what this one's called. I should. Damien would know.
Well, I forget what I have, but like this one is a very persnickety one. It's lasted 2 years, and I think there's some new leaves, but there's some old that are just dead. So I need to repot. No, but I had a fiddle leaf fig one time, and it was the most temperamental bitch that I've ever. I couldn't do it. It was my first plant, like first actual plant.
That's
and
not a good first plant to have.
No, and I didn't know it, and I was gifted it, and my friends, they were laughing at me because I was like, "Don't move it, like, it will be temperamental."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gifted Ian a fig tree when he moved into his apartment in Williamsburg, and that was I think that was like their first like true plant, and I don't know where it is now, but for the 3 years he lived in Williamsburg, it grew like almost 8 feet. And he just watered it. And I don't even think he repotted it at all, which is crazy. But it was a small little plant when it first got it from him. Yeah.
Is it still there?
Well, he moved to Jersey, so I don't know if they took the plant with him. But, I mean, for 3 years, the plant would just keep growing. It just would not stop. It was crazy. So some
Little
people
shop
just
of horrors.
Some just have a green thumb. Maybe you just don't have...
I don't. I don't think I don't. Like, I'm not bad. Like I've kept I've kept the 3 plants in my apartment alive, for a while, but I'm not the best at it. Even when I try,
It's a lot of
sense
work.
that. Yeah, I feel like when I don't try as much, they live, but then when I really try to put effort into it, they really just don't want to be here. But okay, the other thing I want to ask you about, which is the topic of conversation with everybody, is the heat.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Because today, as we record, it's tough. It's tough to be outside.
It's brutal. I went to the grocery store about 30 minutes ago just to like pick up some small things, and the grocery store is, mind you, a 6-minute walk away. Sweat running down my back, on my face. Like it's diabolical. The fact that what day is it? June 23rd, right?
Yeah.
For the rest of the week, it's going to be in the 90s. Like I don't know.
I know.
I don't know if we're going to survive. We've got the mayoral election with a Muslim socialist goes around.
Yeah.
That has a lot of people in a tizzy. I see a lot of racism on social media these days.
Yeah, I'm not even like we're watching videos of it happen.
Yeah, so goes around, but I think the heat has people feeling a little jumpy.
But we didn't have it for such a long time. This is such an old lady conversation. Like, we're talking about the weather.
We're two Nonas.
I was talking to, our friend Thomas. We talked about a quiche for 30 minutes the other day.
Okay, that is definitely some geriatric shit.
We were thrilled to talk about it.
What were you talking about? Like how
Just
to make
different.
One?
No. He had one he had one specifically that he really, really liked. And then I was like, oh, well, I had one like a year ago that I can't stop thinking about it. It was so good. And then we then talked about plants, and then we talked about home ownership, and spoke about a 401k, and then it came back to me being a movie star, which is how every conversation I have with someone, I somehow try to make it about me being a movie star.
Yeah.
So for about 97% of the conversation, it was old.
You know, it's funny. If people didn't know us, they'd assume this is just like a home and goods podcast. But to our audience, welcome to What the Film, episode 4.
We didn't even introduce the...
We got to be better about that, because Elijah caught us the last time. Thank you, Elijah.
Elijah's our editor, and...
a very talented, very kind, and gracious editor.
And very young. He's the youth. He literally tried to explain TikTok to us, and... I was like, Elijah, you need to make a video. I don't know what you just said.
But anyway, welcome to What the Film, episode 4. Why are we here, Vishaal?
I don't know. Should we just stop this while we're at it? We've had some good episodes.
I mean, we're here to talk about Materialists, but obviously...
We are here to talk about Celine Song's The Materialists.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how controversial this film was until I listened to people walking out of the film.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, before we do that, any hot topics, like anything that's just on your mind, industry, film-wise, that you need to get off your chest? I have one, and you already know it because it's on brand.
Is it Beyonce?
No, it's Ma. Y'all, we're getting we're getting a Ma sequel.
Mama
Mia. Here we go again. No, we're getting a Ma sequel. This is when was the first one? 2019, right?
That movie feels like it was made in 1984, and yet it was not.
Yeah. So we're now 6 years in, and Ma has just developed this cult following. I was Ma for Halloween 3 years ago. It was a hit.
We have to insert the photo.
Well, 1,000. I will send the photo to Elijah. He'll insert it and make sure that everyone gets to see this. But I'm so excited. Octavia Spencer's coming back, and Ashley Nicole Black, who's a really, really good writer, incredible writer, is writing it, which gives me more hope, because that was probably the part that I feel like Ma didn't deliver on the most was the script. So I hope she like pushes it and like gives it some room to breathe and makes it campier than what it already is. I'm very excited. Yeah.
But I just thought that spoiler, but again, didn't she burn in a house? Or I guess we didn't see her.
I think it's kind of like Michael Myers
with the body of a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think Ma's gonna be Michael Myers just coming back?
I think she would just kind of like inherit this very Michael Myers ethos where she's just like an ubiquitous the shape, and and she's kind of gonna. I kind of see a world where she's kind of like Diane Warren. You know, like she's always nominated for Best Original Song, but never.
How dare you bring that lady's name into the conversation?
I'm just saying. I think she's kind of heading in that trajectory. That's what I see.
What if she is like, what if it's a ghost? What if it becomes a full ghost story?
Yeah.
What if it's like Scary Movie 2? What if we go full parody?
So I'm saying, like, go for it, you know?
And she dances again.
Yeah. I think if Megan can develop this deep following, Ma can absolutely do the same. It's all about the marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Megan, I'm a little dubious on right now, because the more not the stallion, the the more I see of Megan 2.0, I'm like, okay, did we go too meta?
Yeah.
Are we a little too in tune with like what social media says about her? Because some of it I'm like, okay, I hope this is good, because
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was so fun.
We won't know. This one also feels like it's more action thriller than it is horror. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that tonal shift will work for everybody, but ultimately Megan is a brand. So, people will show up either way. So
Yeah, this is fair. Okay, so that was yours. Ma 2 was your
Ma too.
your highlight. We are very excited about Ma 2 whenever that will come out, probably like 2027.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I don't have a ton of movie news because we are about to enter the Fantastic Four, Superman. We're about to enter like big Jurassic Park. We're about to enter like big budgeted box office type films with like big A-list stars, which are a lot of fun. So I'm intrigued by this Superman because we seem to have never have gotten it right according to critics.
Yeah.
And Superman is the superhero that I know like the least about, even through all of the films. I just don't know a ton. And so I'm excited about that. I'm actually excited about the Fantastic Four because I love the cast, and I think that it's just going to be an interesting, different take. But I have seen a lot of trailers that have come out recently. One of them is the second trailer for Weapons came out today.
I saw it too. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks so. I was already going to get a ticket. And I kind of don't like the fact that we got a second trailer, to be honest. Like, I really wanted to go in, like having just enough to get me, but not enough to give me more than what I need. I don't know.
This trailer got me. The first trailer, I was like, okay, I'm in, but like, I do want more. And this one, now I'm in.
I watched it. It's great, but now I feel like I've got too much information.
Fair. This trailer gave me like Long Legs vibes.
Yeah.
Tonally, not in terms of anything else, but just tonally.
Yeah.
The another thing that I saw was the trailer for Splitsville, another trailer with Dakota Johnson and a bunch of other actors about like a straight couple who get into an open relationship. And I'm always intrigued about the straights and their open relationships.
Yeah.
Because with queer people, it's so much a part of culture in a way.
Is
but
it a dark
this is
comedy? What's
very much so.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very like it kind of gave me like Triangle of Sadness tone,
Okay.
and also like the play God of Carnage.
Okay.
It kind of gave me that kind of like madcap, like dark comedy, with some like a lot of physical comedy based on the trailer.
Ooh, you know what I just heard? It's so now that James Bond is officially, at least creatively owned by Amazon and directors are pitching, Aaron Pierre is in the running for James Bond.
Saw.
Yeah. He'd be the first Black Bond.
Yeah. I haven't seen enough of him as an actor to like make
Yeah.
any judgment, but like he looks the part. He seems like a nice person. He's yeah, good for him.
Yeah, Rebel Ridge was great. It was a Netflix movie, so, whatever, but...
Oh, I did hear he was great. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. He just has the build and the demeanor to be like a spy. It's great.
I was hoping for Riz. I want Riz to jump in there as an older Bond.
I know.
Older. He's like 40, but he I love. And he's just such...
It'd go for Dev over Riz. If they were to go in that direction.
I mean, I would take either.
Yeah, me too, but I feel like Dev he's younger.
The younger also would be aesthetically a very different type
Yeah.
of Bond. Like,
Yeah.
they go for kind of the same clean-cut looking person. And
Right.
not that Dave isn't, but like Dave just has more interesting features, which I think makes him pop on screen. So yeah, but I will I will take anyone who's not white.
I mean, the directors that are pitching, Edward Berger. I think I saw Alfonso Cuarón. So if we get a really good director in, then I'll have a lot more confidence and faith in their ability to pull it off.
I mean, look, they all the white Bonds have been good to great. So I can't,
Yeah.
none of them, in my opinion, have been like bad. I know other people might disagree with that, but yeah, I don't know. I just wonder who they're gonna pick because Daniel Craig was just
He was really good.
he was so great.
Like, he's the one I grew up with.
You didn't grow up with Pierce?
It wasn't really in the house like that, so.
I think yeah.
Yeah.
My dad loves those movies. So I grew up watching. Honestly, like Roger Moore and Sean Connery is what
So
I
you're
remember.
older. Yeah, even before Pierce.
I remember what. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember. Yeah, Pierce was my like. When I was more cognizant of like who James Bond was and all of that. Not my favorite. Not my favorite in the franchise. Like the films were not my favorite.
Yeah.
But I think the Daniel Craig ones are still. Casino Royale holds up in such a beautiful way.
The Pierce ones had just iconic Bond girls, though, like Michelle Yeoh.
I know.
And Halle Berry. Like, it's kind of wild that the older generation.
Denise Richards. Of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fame.
You know what's funny? I feel like I watched Austin Powers before I watched any of the Bond movies, and I didn't realize growing up that Austin Powers is a spoof of Bond.
Oh yeah.
Well, but like because Austin Powers was my first kind of contextual.
You just thought it was a random movie.
A random movie.
Beyonce. Again, it comes back to
Foxy Cleopatra.
The things they did to her in that movie, like, just insane. She would never.
She was 20 years old, just looking to get some acting, experience.
I still think she was a better actor than people give her credit for.
We'll have another conversation about that, but listen, if with the right role, absolutely.
Cadillac Records, fantastic.
Dreamgirls, good.
Yeah.
Good. Look,
obsessed. Iconic.
For a lot of reasons, but acting is not one of them, So.
Carmen, a hip opera, don't remember it.
Gosh.
But I'm sure it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was young too. I just remember it coming on MTV and being like,
I hated that she died. Like, the fact that she died just made me so upset.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler!
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, if you've not seen Carmen, the opera. I'm trying to think if there's any other movie news. We're in like this weird festival season right now where there's a lot of international film festivals going on.
Yeah.
Films are being bought and people are already speculating about Oscar buzz and things like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's so early. I haven't heard of a ton of things being bought.
Yeah.
It feels like it's slower.
Well, we've got Venice the end of August, early September, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the big one, the other big one in Europe. And then things like TIFF and Tribeca.
Coming up.
Yeah. Well, Tribeca was in June, but TIFF.
Tribeca just happened, yeah.
TIFF will be in October. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I feel like it was a slow start coming out of Cannes, but I think that's mainly because the lineup was not that good. I mean, you had a couple films like Die My Love and Sentimental Value that really stood out, but everything else felt a little underwhelming. Yeah.
Well, American films felt underwhelming.
American films, yes.
I think this year, based off of the jury awards, international films were like taking it in terms of like. I think that even at the Oscars, we're about to see a lot more international productions that end up in the awards conversation. But yeah, the American market did not. Even at Sundance, like there weren't that many purchases of films.
One or two ones, yeah.
And they were like not for a crazy amount of money.
Yeah.
And Die My Love, I've had some friends that got to see it when they were there, and so a lot of them actually said that like the performance of Jennifer Lawrence is fantastic, but the film got a really mixed reception at the festival, which is interesting, which makes me want to see it even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this also might be like a late award season. We may end up hearing a lot more by like September, October.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Sundance, we just got the trailer for Kiss of the Spider Woman with Jennifer Lopez, which is the adaptation of the novel from '76, and then it was on Broadway in the '90s. It was actually also a movie, right? With
it was
William Hurt in the '80s, but this is a more true adaptation of the Broadway musical. So it's playing right into J-Lo's skills. Maybe she can land her first Oscar nomination. We'll see. Listen, I have faith in her. I do. It was at Sundance, and she got a rapturous, response. So,
yeah.
Okay, but look. So we also got the trailer for Wicked for Good. And could Ariana Grande go back to the Oscars for another nomination in which she'd be up against J-Lo? Because I think they're trying to put J-Lo in Best Supporting Actress versus Best Lead.
I think that J-Lo would be supporting, because that character is and look, I love J-Lo. Yeah. It's just an interesting piece in general. That is a really interesting kind of piece to revisit, and for me the trailer left a lot to be desired. I wish it were a little bit more. Again, I have not seen it, so I'm speculating off of 2 minutes. And it really, not a lot had anything to do with her. It was just more like, oh, I thought this feels very straightforward.
Okay.
In how it's being presented, and so I'm curious to see what they do with it. And also, I'm always going to root for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
She deserved that nomination for Hustlers. 100%. I got into an argument the other day with someone about it. They said she didn't. I said, let's unpack.
Let's unpack.
She deserved one for Selena.
Yeah, she should have at least 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Everything else,
What were we talking about after Kiss the Spider-Woman?
Wicked for Good.
Oh, Wicked, yes.
Yeah.
I keep hearing rumors that they might switch.
Oh, Ari would go lead?
Yeah, because Ari's part in the Broadway show is like, it's meatier in that way, that like she gets some... I think she gets some like bigger moments in the way that like Cynthia got. Elphaba gets it in Act 1. I'm really curious about it only because Act 2 of Wicked is infamously like less interesting.
Right, and the songs are not even that good either. So.
Yeah, like No Good Deed is gonna be like the one that people I think walk away from, but I think the production is gonna be insane for this. I'm also really interested to see how they infuse Dorothy.
Yeah, they keep not showing her face, and I'm like, I swear, if you just like CGI'd some Judy Garland ass shit on that girl, I'm gonna be so upset.
Yeah, I kind of want her. What if she looks like Heidi Montag?
Like, do not do that, please.
They're all the cast of Laguna Beach.
I can't. Like, I'm shuddering.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're right. They haven't been showing the faces. I hope we don't see a face. I hope we just see, profiles or something. Yeah, I don't know. But now
we've seen the Lion. We haven't seen the Tin Man, and we haven't seen the Scarecrow. But like, I think they cast somebody. We just don't know who it is.
I'm sure, but if you know what happens.
Yeah.
To make them those things,
Yeah.
I assume the actors that are going to be playing those parts are already in the film. So I don't know. Yeah, I won't spoil it for people who have not seen Wicked, the show. There's some trickery there.
Yeah. Do you think they'll be true to the Broadway musical, or do you think they'll switch some things for the movie?
I think they'll be pretty faithful. I'm sure they'll add some things in, because Act 1 was like pretty much
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They took some creative liberties with like the Emerald City stuff, and that, and I think that there's some new songs from what I heard.
In the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
heard the same.
there's some new music, like one or two songs. So I think it'll change a little bit. But yeah, it's Act 2. You like kind of go for no good deed and for good. Those are the songs that people. Are
what's
excited
crazy? Wicked can be thought of as a love triangle, and we're here today to talk about another love triangle.
Oh my God, that segue.
In our own Emerald City, New York City. Oh.
Can I quit?
Let's talk about it.
Okay, we're in it. The
We're in it.
Materialists, directed and written by Celine Song, the fantastic Celine Song.
Yeah.
Do you want to set this up
Yeah.
in terms of what this is about?
Yeah, so this is coming off the heels of Celine Song's 2023 film Past Lives, which came out July of that year. Small independent film, but Greta Lee starred. Thought it was well received. Celine Song got a Best Screenplay nomination, right, at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Greta Lee, I think, campaigned pretty hard. Didn't get the nomination, but it was definitely a good elevation for both their profiles. And so,
For sure.
Last year we get word that Celine Song is doing another love triangle because her and her husband Justin, they just love this theme of love triangles. And this one is going to star Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, and Dakota Johnson. And it will take place in New York City, modern day. Dakota Johnson plays a matchmaker living off of $80,000 in New York. Don't know how that's possible. We're going to get into that. And the love triangle is Pedro Pascal, a hedge fund multimillionaire who is courting her, and then Chris Evans, her, for lack of better words, brokey ex. And
that character that hit home.
You're not that, okay?
No, I'm not. But the actor of it all,
the actor, yeah.
like that was real.
And so I feel like, look, we got our first trailer maybe a couple months ago. This is being produced distributed, by A24. Mm-hmm. And how would you describe the first trailer that you saw? What did you think? What tonally did you think you were going to be getting yourself into when you watched this movie?
Well, I mean, the way that it's being marketed, I think, is why this is getting such a divisive reaction. Is that it was marketed and is marketed as like a rom-com, like a return to form, and it kind of made it feel like it was going to be like a How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, a Sweet Home Alabama. Insert rom-com with said white lady who's down on her luck and like doesn't know how to find love. But then you also have to remember that this is Celine Song, who Past Lives was, I don't think was marketed as much of a rom-com, but I don't think people knew how somber tonally it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think going into this, I sensed that it wasn't going to be this like laugh riot. I thought it was going to be something that was a little bit more of a dramedy. And in fact, it's a full drama. Like there's not really...
Yeah.
And maybe it's because my theater didn't laugh a ton. Maybe that affected my...
Yeah.
Like there were very few laughs. So yeah, I it was not a comedy, not a rom-com in my book.
Yeah. When I guess we'll kind of just jump right in. So, let's just paint a picture of the plot. So Dakota Johnson is this matchmaker living in the city. She was also previously an actress, right? That's how her
Yes.
Was it John, right? Chris Evans' character? John?
I don't know. Their names are
I know
Dakota
Lucy
Johnson
is
and
her
Chris
name.
Evans. Yeah.
And Harry, Pedro Pascal, John, Chris Evans. There we go. So we start the film. She is just killing it as a matchmaker. She is, I think, more emotionally cold, and she is more emotionally distant. But I think that's because for so much of this film, the way she sees dating and the way she sees relationships is basically as an equation, as a numerical value. You want XYZ because you need XYZ, and everything is all about the transactional nature of relationships. So she doesn't see marriage and relationships as this emotional connection. So Harry, Pedro Pascal, good old Pedro,
Who's in everything. He's booked.
He's
booked.
It's his summer. Eddington, Fantastic Four, and Materialist. This is his summer.
Crazy. Good for him. Like he's look, he has been hustling for years. So like I'm thrilled. And with The Last of Us, like killing it. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. I love him, to be clear.
Yeah.
And Harry comes into her life. He is sitting next to her at this wedding. He is clearly interested in her, trying to court her. And then comes in John, her blast from the past. And then what Celine tries to paint as a love triangle, for me at least, doesn't appear to be as one. And I say that because I don't ever really get the sense as I'm watching this movie that it was ever a really clear, or there was ever a good reason for her to be with each of these men. We never really get a chance to see Harry interact with her or be with her outside of him giving her keys to his $12 million penthouse in Tribeca. You know, it honestly feels like she's had the emotional connection with John from the beginning and through the film, to the point where, spoiler alert, she chooses John. It never didn't feel like that was not going to happen.
Yeah, I also don't know if the framing of the love triangle works, because we don't actually see Pedro or Chris interact that often.
Yeah.
It's like there's like one moment. There's no rivalry. They don't really talk to each other.
Yeah.
They don't have any conflict with each other. All the conflict is with her, but individually. And Pedro and Dakota's characters don't really have conflict with each other really until the end, where they break up. And I'm curious about the idea that's being presented here, that relationships are fully transactional. And like, do you buy into that as much as the film was trying to like...
Do I personally? Or does the audience?
Like that well, if I think both. I think for you and for the audience, because that was the one thing that like kept, like, that was the one point of the movie that I was like, okay, we get it. Like, you think that relationships are transactional, and they are in many ways, but like it was very like kind of sobering to think like, oh yeah, like we do value these material attributes about people, and once we have those, we're like, but we want love.
Yeah.
But oftentimes there's not love.
Yeah, I feel like... So... Okay. There's just a...
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
There's a lot, because, you know, Damo and I saw it together, and we saw it in a packed theater on opening night. And... I think I left the movie thinking that the movie was trying to convey that all you need is an emotional connection, or like all you need is like true love to get through and get past everything else that might be in your way, which may be finances, or maybe your traumas, or maybe anything else. And I come from the perspective of someone that, like you said, understands that being in a relationship is about the emotional connection, absolutely. And it's also about, it can also be about someone who wants stability and wants security. And I don't think that there is a right or wrong answer. I think it's all about the person and what realization they come to about what they need. What I wanted was a movie to actually take time sitting with that idea. And what I wanted was a movie to take time really interrogating the idea that if we're meant to believe that Lucy is this person that has so much deep trauma about financial security from growing up in life, why not actually allow her as a character to explore that and explore the root of it, rather than like sitting on the surface and only talking about how everything is transactional, numerical, in an equation. That to me felt like the biggest gap. It's like, but why didn't we really allow that character to like feel the thing that is uncomfortable and to like express it and to exhume it rather than to belabor it and to say it time and time again when we like you said, we've already established that this is who she is.
Are you saying you wish you would have seen her struggle financially more, or like
no. I
date?
I wish she just had the chance to really unpack her own trauma as it relates to financial security, because she doesn't.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting.
That's what I walked away thinking. Like, I feel like I don't feel the emotional connection to her or her struggle because she doesn't go through that journey.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think there wasn't really a struggle, which I think that's part of the... I think a part of that character was just turning love into, like, an elitist commodity.
Yeah.
In a way. And, like, I think one of the strongest parts in the film is there's a lot of little montages of her talking to clients about what they want.
Yeah.
And, like, one of them is, like, well, they must earn $500,000, but they also have to be 27.
Right. Right.
And it's very much like we treat potential partners like products that we're going to use and what we're trying to get out of it. But that's interesting. I felt like that was purposeful because she frames romantic relationships as like in terms of material value.
But she doesn't even follow her own belief system, if that's the case.
No, she doesn't. But that's also, I think, why the film is frustrating in that
right.
we as humans want to watch somebody have a clear arc, but in life we are conundrums of things. And so for me, I hear your point. That didn't bother me as much. I think what I still came away from that was a little frustrating was like the idea that marriage is the end goal in all of this instead of just like actual partnership.
Whatever that may look like.
Right? Yeah. Like that was just like, okay, we're doing this again. Marriage and then like children and like, cool. That's like the end goal for many people. Yeah. But that's where I was just kind of like, oh, this loses me a little bit because it didn't feel like it was saying anything new in that moment. But it also was very real and like probably is true to many people.
So I know that Celine Song was in fact a matchmaker when she lived in New York. So, and that's where a lot of this comes from. I do wonder if and how the idea of matchmaking will land with a contemporary audience, because as far as I know, matchmaking is not how most people find their partners. I'm sure there are services.
Yeah. No, but I think I come from a family where my parents were arranged. So they were essentially put together by a matchmaker. So I think a lot of what I watched was stuff that like in Indian culture, like I grew up seeing and understanding and like seeing how commodified like matches are in terms of like the height, the weight, the job. They call it like we have to give them your biodata.
Yeah.
Like it literally is like a one-sheeter of like who you are, what you do, how much money do you make, what's your height, what are you looking for? Like it all of it was very, very real. And yet I don't think we are still used to that idea of a matchmaker when so many other cultures and traditions still do that, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it is still a little, even for me as someone who grew up like seeing a lot of that with like cousins and like most of my cousins have had arranged marriages. And they're like 4 or 5 years older than me, if that. So it's still very present.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it was even jarring to even like listen to conversations with like English speaking American audiences. I was like, oh, this still feels odd.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't really know if that made any sense, but yeah.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say generally is I think part of what made this film a little bit less believable for me is kind of what we alluded to at the beginning, is just a lack of chemistry that exists. So you're supposed to walk into this film believing that this is a true love triangle insofar as she is in love with both Chris Evans, John, and Pedro Pascal, Harry. And how do we feel about Dakota Johnson as a performer and as someone who is, but probably one of the most omnipresent young actors working right now?
I find her to be a very fascinating personality. I've always found her to be like very engaging and interesting as like as a human, and I do think that she makes, whether the films are good or not, they're hits, like she makes interesting choices, and like hearing her speak about what she chooses to take on, I find really, really, she's very smart. Like I find her like very engaging as like a personality. I do think that I think two things have happened here that I think are why I think a lot of people are having trouble with this movie, is that we talked about it. The marketing suggests a different film than what you're actually watching. Mm-hmm. We're watching something that's a little slower moving, a little bit more somber tonally, and also very serious in a lot of ways, and yet has these punches of like physical comedy and things that you're kind of like, okay, where is this going, and why is this tonally kind of uneven? For me. So I think the character, we find out near the end that she's supposed to be a cold person, but we don't really know about that until like an hour and 20 minutes in. So I think sometimes the performance suffers, and that maybe not suffers, but okay, this is how I would actually frame it. I think when you have three actors and two of them are actually supposed to be cold, and one of them is very, very warm and feels everything, which is Chris Evans' character, Pedro and Dakota's characters are like kind of supposed to be very transactional in how they approach everything in life.
Right.
What they want in life. Who they want in life. Chris Evans is a struggling artist who wears his like emotions on his sleeve, and you see that in the performance because that performance is so lived in and feels like it's like guttural at times. The other two feel flat.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the fault of the actors per se. I think it's just that is what the edit was.
Right.
I don't know if there were different versions of this movie where like each character was a bit warmer.
Yeah.
And that to me is where I felt like I didn't really care about any of the characters or where they ended up. Because you can still be cold and still have people rooting for you, and I didn't really feel like I was rooting for anybody. Chris Evans, I thought, gave the best performance in the movie because the character was written differently, and the character's struggles were different, and you saw the struggle. You saw the arc of him going from a struggling actor, living with roommates, living in a really shitty apartment with like dumb people around him, and really grappling with the fact that he's 37, is still like not in a place in his theater actor career where he wants to be, and you see him like want to get better.
Yeah.
And the other two, you don't get that. You don't get that arc in the way that he gets it in such a lovely way. So I think that's probably part of it. That was a long-winded answer, but like, I'm intrigued by Dakota. I've always been intrigued by her performances in movies, but I do think that because other characters were a little bit more colorful, including some of the more supporting characters,
which we'll get into.
Yeah, I think that it dampened the impact, I think, of her arc.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I've always found Pedro to be a compelling actor, and I actually think the original structure of Dakota's character as this more emotionally removed matchmaker lends itself well to the person that she is as a person. Because I think, like you just mentioned, her press run for this movie, incredible. She's got this like
so fun.
really funny,
She's magnetic.
dry sense of humor, and it does work for me until it doesn't. On this film.
Yeah. I understand that. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to about this movie too have also said very similar things.
Yeah.
And one thing to know about me is that, like, I love a divisive actor.
Yeah.
She's divisive as hell. Like, people either love her or hate her.
Yeah.
And it makes me, like, want to work with her because I'm curious to know, like, how she works and, like, hearing her talk about her process in interviews and, you know, how she grew up on film sets and, because she comes from, you know, acting royalty. Like, she comes from a dynasty of actors. So, like, say what you will about her abilities as a performer, but, like, I do find that she's an intriguing figure, and she keeps booking. So, like, you have some crazy directors, and by crazy I mean, like, big directors that are, like, vying to work with her. So
yeah.
I think that there's something interesting about it. But I think part of the reason that the performance was, I'm still not sure about it, it goes back to this idea that, like, with dating, financial stability often, like, outweighs or trumps emotional depth in a romance, and it's not necessarily out of, like, greed, but it's out of fear. Mm-hmm. And, like, that is her arc, is that she fears that scarcity of, like, where she grew up in, which is why she breaks up with Chris Evans' character in the beginning, right? Because she doesn't see that upward mobility. But then when she gets the opportunity to be with someone who could give her everything financially, the emotional depth is not there. And so she kind of realizes, oh, well, I need both.
Right.
But then at the end of the movie, she ends up with Chris Evans and then is like, I'm okay.
That's what I mean. It's like,
so
if you recognize you need both, or you recognize the value in both, then where is that? How are we kind of bringing that conflict and tension to the surface?
Yeah. And yes, absolutely. And I think what's also fascinating is that, like, self-worth and dating obviously go hand in hand, but people evaluate themselves. I feel like people evaluate themselves as, like, dating candidates.
Yeah.
Like, as, like, if they're a stat to be, you know, like, optimized or anything based off of, like, height, weight, attractiveness. And I found it really interesting that, like, the men in the film were sort of emasculated by, like, how much money they were making, or, like, wealth disparities, and the women were oftentimes, like, the big, like, deal breaker was age, and, like, being fit or being not fit, and I think it unfortunately, like, highlighted a lot of the real world anxieties that people have, like, you know, with dating apps and culture. Absolutely. And weaving that into, like, Dakota's character and Pedro's character, I think it was a very interesting, like, character study, because it was so real. And I think sometimes we watch movies to escape, and that was not an escape. It was very much like, no, this is how we give ourselves social currency, especially you know, on these in dating, you know, as single people, especially in a big city like New York, where there's many options. Almost too many options. So
I remember, like, first moving to the city, and I was working at Facebook at the time, and I was happy to, like, make that the first thing that people saw on my dating profile. Like, you know, so much of my own you know, currency as a person was wrapped up in my job. Thank God I grew out of that, but I think it's really easy to see other people do it and to believe that you also have to kind of put so much weight in value in the thing you do or the company you work at to show why you're worth someone's time.
And I haven't.
Hey, listen. I
haven't. I still value. I still value a lot of those things that they talk about in the movie. I joke that I'll never date another actor again because I've had people say, "Hey, we won't date artists," and I get it. Like, it is watching that Chris Evans character. I was like,
too close to home.
Yeah, but that was me in my 20s, like doing basement, and I wouldn't change it, but like doing basement theater for like two people in. And I don't think I ever lived in an apartment like he lived in with all of those roommates in that way. Like, I was but that is the reality of like many other people, that hustle, that struggle. And now that I'm in my 30s, I do still feel that way sometimes, where I don't feel like I am doing enough, or like when someone asks me what I do, or if they ask like, well, what have I seen you in, or like what have you been in, sometimes the inadequacy, especially on a date, like comes through in a way that it's shocking to me sometimes. And so when I'm even on dating apps, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Like, I'm thinking about the age, I'm thinking about the job, I'm thinking about no artists or performers. Like, I'm doing that shit myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm figuring that out, but it is very real. I don't think we think about it enough as we swipe.
Yeah.
And swipe and swipe.
Okay, so we talked about Chris Evans, we talked about Dakota, talked about Pedro. Let's talk about one of the bigger plot developments that happens. So, Dakota Johnson's character, she's got this client, Sophia, and she has been trying to set Sophia up on a match for far too long. She finds this guy, Mark P. They have a date.
Sure.
Lucy, Dakota Johnson's character, calls Mark P. He goes, "It was great." She goes, "Yes." Tries to call Sophia, basically to get some type of context, figure out if they want to do a second date. Dakota Johnson learns that Sophia was sexually assaulted by Mark P. After the date in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So the movie, at this point, I think up to this point, you could safely say that it was in a rom-com like stratosphere. Like, it was kind of playing in humor and romance, but it didn't ever get to this point of heaviness and this point of weight. What'd you think about this plot development? What'd you think about this kind of like subplot in the broader film? Did it work? Did it feel authentic to the bigger picture of The Materialist?
I think it, for me, brought up something that I didn't think about with matchmaking, is that, like, legally, what are they liable for when these things happen? Because unfortunately, they happen. And so I think that was interesting in that they brought it up. And I assume that this, when Celine was a matchmaker, this was, I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't read if, like, this was something that was like a real life thing that she had to deal with and
or maybe
with
a
a client
of hers,
but,
like, could
yeah. I assume that this is something that that sadly does happen. So I didn't even think about that. I don't think that it was fully successful in that this is where tonally this subplot, while I get that there's power to it, and I felt like tonally it was very jarring, and it was also very underdeveloped, and it just there was no emotional payoff for this character to me. I think the film wanted there to be more of one, but I don't feel like it was. I also felt like they set up this character to be kind of whiny and, like, thinks that she's better than everybody else and, like, and I think, like, the way that she's spoken about behind her back is like, she's being picky. Like, we just can't find anyone for her. Like, I think the character does make a comment about her being, like, I'm paraphrasing, like, one of the most unmatchable women in New York or something.
Yeah.
Like,
she's like, she wants this, but all she's really worth is this, is basically what she says.
Yeah. So, yeah, which is, like, very shitty, very honest, like, and it makes you, like, not like Dakota's character, but, like, that's, people should talk, we talk like that in our own lives about people, unfortunately. Right. So I didn't think it was totally successful. I do think that it brought up a very interesting point in that, like, we don't really know people Even if you're a matchmaker, you don't really know who these people are.
Right.
Even if you say you're their friend, like you are a transaction to them because it's a business. And
Right.
yeah, and the idea of introducing an assault is realistic, but I didn't. One, was it necessary? I don't know. If it was handled differently, sure.
Yeah.
I also just couldn't take it seriously where, like, Dakota puts on, like, an Inspector Gadget costume and the wind is blowing in her hair. I was like, what is this? Like, what film are we doing?
When this girl pulled up in that jacket and that hat, I said, what are you doing?
Also, it was hot. Everyone was in shorts and a t-shirt. Like, I was like, it's what? Why?
One thing I want to say about this, I think everything you shared is more or less how I felt. I felt like, to your point, it did kind of go off my head, like, oh yeah, they do have to think about that, or they have to, like, really think about the consequences of these two people and the fact that they have limited information about them, but they're putting them together in what could be a really vulnerable place. Where I think for me it felt a little unclear as a plot device is essentially after Dakota Johnson goes to Sophie's apartment. So Sophie calls her because apparently she has no other girlfriends in the city, so she has to call her matchmaker. Whatever.
Which, yeah, wait, you're so right. She does say that. What?
I don't know why you moved to New York without any friends. You don't have anybody? Anyway, that's a nitpick. But she calls Dakota Johnson's character and says that Mark P is outside of her apartment. Dakota goes in. She basically consoles Sophie, makes her feel more safe in theory. And then, at the onset of that, Dakota Johnson walks back outside. Chris Evans is waiting for her. And is that the point where they realize they want to be together? Like, the just like having that really serious, scary moment for Sophie preclude this, like, emotional, like, light bulb moment for Lucy and John. I was a little put off by, like, just the adjacency and, like, how close those two things were in
Fully
the film.
agreed. Yeah.
So, and I don't know, again, like, ultimately it comes down to, like, how developed this subplot was, and I don't think it was the most fleshed out, but I left being like, I don't know if that really works for me. I don't know if that, like, really makes sense, but
yeah. The one thing I will say about this too, about the film in its entirety, and maybe this is my hot take of the week. This is what I was going to say, but now I think it's important because I don't think this should have been a film. I think it should have been a play. And Celine Song is a great playwright, and the dialogue is written like a play. The monologues are written like it is structured like theater. It is not, and there are even moments where the acting borders on like especially with the women in the office, like laughing and excited about matches and things like that. There are moments where I was kind of like, oh, I think this should be on stage. I don't think this is a film. Whereas Past Lives, I was like, this is absolutely a film. The quietness works with this.
yeah.
With this, I think what felt jarring throughout was because I felt like it would have served its purpose in a better way, not only on stage, but with like a little bit more ebullience and life. I think it could have just been bigger throughout. I think the smallness of the directorial vision and maybe some of the acting, while works for film, I don't think it should have been a film.
That's a great take. It's a great take.
Yeah, I just remember thinking like, I forget what monologue it was towards the beginning. Maybe like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh yeah, they should do this at like off Broadway.
Is it out? Is it when she's out on the fire escape?
No, it was different. I genuinely don't remember where I thought it should have happened. But then when she confronts Zoe Duch's character in the park, that monologue, I was like, this is theater.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I wonder what it would look like as a stage version, as
Maybe
opposed
we'll
to
get
a...
it.
We might. I think
You
that,
know?
like, I think that's where Celine started, was playwriting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before she dove into film. But, I mean, I think it's, you know... Yeah. I have nothing else.
One more, I guess it's a spoiler for the audience, but one more subplot. Harry. The development.
Oh. Oh, wait.
So-
yeah, we have to talk about that. Because that's real.
That is real. So at this point, Lucy is sleeping in bed with Harry like each night. Like they're a couple. And the first time she notices that he does not show his ankles and his feet in bed. He's usually covered in a blanket, usually covered up. And then one night she peeks the sheets, you know.
Excuse
peeks
me?
in.
She peeks the
She peeks in. She peeks in. Sorry, kind of like thinking, and she sees these scars on his ankles, and he notices that she notices, and so he rips the sheet back on, and goes into the kitchen. And then what happens over the next 5 minutes? I honestly giggled at. Like I know
I forgot because they referred to this procedure where people break their legs
Yeah.
so that they can, and the bones regrow in a
Yeah.
way that you can get taller.
You get taller. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they have this entire dialogue about, like, he was 5'6"?
5'6".
Height is real. Like it, and I'm gonna be vulnerable. When I was in high school, because there was something about being 6 foot that was ingrained to me as a kid, I put lifts in my shoes. I was 15. I was a.
You are so brave. You are so brave.
To this day, my mom, love her, but she can be venomous. She gave me some shoes. Lifts were already in it. I was like, lady, I'm 5'10". I'm not growing anymore.
What's
in
2
fact,
inches?
I'm getting shorter at this point. Like
Yeah.
we're on the decline.
Right.
So that just gave me like Indian mother told Pedro, hey, you're a little short. You're going to amount
Harry,
to nothing.
He grew his 6 inches because he knew that he could not be a proper suitor to not even Lucy, but really to anybody as someone who's 5'6".
And his brother did it too.
Yeah, right. They
They
both
did it together.
And as someone who celebrates Short King Week, 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", that's a whole week in May.
Is it?
Yeah, it's Short King Week.
Should we observe next year?
Well, I observed this year and last year, so yeah, you need to get on board. But that was something. That was something. That's when the rom-com part came back, you know.
Yes, it did. Yes. I forgot that they brought it up at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, what are they doing with this? This is an interesting thing. But yeah, that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you break your legs to get taller?
Absolutely not.
I said it was only $200,000. Like, I would think it'd be more.
Don't have the money, and my partner loves me just the way I am. Oh, look at the hearts.
For those listening, if you're watching, you might see it, but Kevin just did a heart, and somehow hearts appeared. Oh, no!
Woo! Yeah. No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't become a vampire, and I wouldn't get taller out of a surgery.
I'd still become a vampire.
I know. But
I really would. I think it'd be fun.
I do think that I'd be a good matchmaker, though. Like, I think I would have the skills necessary to, like, match people on a emotional level in a way that is successul. That's what I'll say.
I think you would be too.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be. I think I don't care enough.
Yeah. Well. Okay.
I am in my era of
Not caring. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm only thinking about myself right now,
As you
which is
should.
why, and I've usually, I did not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you would be good at it.
Yeah. I need more than 80K for sure before taxes.
Anything else we want to say about this?
I think we just need to. Oh, wait. What did you think about the very beginning of the movie? Where it?
Oh, the cave people?
Yes.
I thought that was so stupid, and
Yeah.
I didn't get it. I also, and I understand. I understood it at the end when the VO came on, and I understand. I didn't realize it was the first marriage. That's what we
Yeah.
were getting at. I just thought
Yeah.
it was people in love. What made me annoyed about it was the production design. It seemed too pristine to be cave times, and
Yeah.
this is the first. Like, it all just seemed a little too like clean to me.
Fake.
Yeah, and I
Well,
was
I
just
guess what's the
thinking.
point though, because it was in the museum, right?
I didn't need any of that. I didn't need that little like segue. That's the one that was one of the times where I was like, I understood the intent. I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
It didn't land for me at all.
It didn't register. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Same page.
Again, a play. I think that if it would have been on stage, to have actors play those characters and have that be a motif throughout the entire thing, where like you have at Act 1, you see the cave people, you have something at Act 2, they're reintroduced in a different way. If it would have been more of a little bit of a through line, I think I would have bought it, but because it happens at the beginning and the end, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah. The last little nitpick that I'll give before we go into our Rotten Tomato score. Why the fuck are they basically crashing some other wedding and then having some like deep emotional conversation at said wedding? If you don't get the hell off of that damn... This is not your... Look, you're dancing at the wedding and then you're arguing at the wedding. A wedding that you were not invited to.
Have you been to an Indian wedding?
Yes.
That probably happened.
Well, there's so many people that you're not looking at just one person. You're just there to experience all of it. This is a wedding in a fucking barn.
I don't disagree with that. I think I was just kind of like, okay. I feel like I've seen people crash.
Well, I've met wedding crashers, but like at least they were all positive spirits and like were good vibes. Don't be a bad vibe if you're gonna crash a wedding. You know what I mean? Don't be a bad.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I was surprised about was that they didn't put on like cater waiter, like the uniform. They didn't work the wedding.
Especially him. She definitely didn't have any, but like, you know, in theory he could have, you know.
I guess the wedding hosts were very
accommodating.
Nice. Yeah, letting them drink. Let them taking the cake.
Right.
Now that's actually where I would have been mad if it were my wedding. You come to my wedding and you eat the food, but you don't know me?
That's crazy.
You know what? I take everything I said back. I'm mad.
Yeah. That's fucked up.
That was not cool.
That's selfish.
The booze? Sure. Fine. Take a glass.
Yeah. I don't know.
Drink.
That grinds my gears. All right.
That's white people shit.
It is truly some white people shit. I have never seen a black person do that.
I've seen Indian people crash weddings, and I've seen drama happen at the weddings with said crashers, but like, No, I think I have. I think I've seen it. I think they've taken food and drinks. I think I've seen it all.
All right. Model minority. So, story pacing, I gave a 6.
Okay.
Acting characters, I gave a 5. Direction, style.
Whoa.
I gave a 7. Emotional impact, a 6. Rewatchability, I gave a 7, and I'm going to explain a little bit. X Factor, I gave a 6. So I ended up with 37 out of 60.
I would probably say like, I'd probably give it I'd give it a 40.
You give it a 40?
Yeah, I'd give it a 40 out of a 60 because I did feel like I would up the acting a little bit more. Yeah, I would up the acting a little bit more. I don't think I'll watch this movie again, weirdly enough. Like, I don't feel compelled to. In the same way that, like, I've seen Past Lives a couple of times. And, like, you know, when I really want to feel bad. And, like...
And it will do that. It will
I'm missing love. Yeah, no, it's a roller coaster, and I love it for that. But, yeah, I don't need to watch this again.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't like it. I just don't.
Yeah. I think now that I can go into it knowing exactly what I'm getting myself into, I can actually enjoy it more. So I can see myself having a more favorable opinion as time goes on, only because you can just kind of like let yourself lean into whatever it is. But yeah,
I think I also went into it being a fan of Celine Song, being a fan of many of these actors, and just knowing like the intelligence behind a lot of the choices. I was like, maybe, you know, I was just thinking about it from that perspective because I know that these are all really, really talented and intelligent artists. So, you know, but not everything is going to land.
Yeah. And look, I'll say this. I love any movie where New York feels like a character. And I did feel like at times the sound design was so good. And I loved
beautiful.
The cityscape. And I did feel like I was immersed in New York, which
very much so.
It's like always a great thing when you're from here and, you know, you also love the city. So, yeah. Her directing was great.
Yeah. And like Joseph Leonard's got a lot of play in that movie.
It did. It did. Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Like that was our fourth character in the couples.
I know. I kind of wanted them to go back to Dumbo or to go to Dumbo, just kind of like give us a little past lives Easter egg.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
She didn't do that. Yeah.
No, but I do feel like all these characters live in the same world. Like they're all
yes.
Yeah, I think that they're all in the same universe. What now? I wonder. There was one apartment. I don't know if it was Chris Evans' apartment or that I was like, it said, and I was like, is he in Brooklyn? Is that my street? Oh wait, we can't put that in. Take this out.
Elijah, cut.
Beep that out. Bleep it out. I did. Yeah, no one needs to know.
He'll just bleep it.
No one needs to know. Sometimes I forget that this is going out into the world.
Right. This is meant for the public consumption.
I know, which is why again, I say this every single episode. I have opinions, and I also am in this business, and it's hard to get it's hard to get things made, and I will say it every episode.
Yeah.
I'd like to also work as an artist until I'm 90. So, like, you know, Celine Song, and for anyone else, I literally want to die on a Broadway stage.
Oh,
have you never heard
that is nuts.
I want to be giving Iago's monologue from Othello, and I want to be just croak.
You're like Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is someone that I can definitely see dying doing a stunt. Like that, it just feels very Tom Cruise.
Or when I'm playing Sweeney Todd and I'm about to be the barber who like slits a wrist or a throat, but then I die.
That's so dark.
Look, I love what I love.
That's so dark. Okay.
I want to go into the next life doing the thing that I love the most.
Yeah. All right. Well,
also, wait, did I tell you that a psychic told me that this is my fourth life and that this is indeed my last?
She goes, and this will be your last. Wow.
I asked. I was like, is this my last? And she goes, absolutely.
Wow. What were the other three like? Like, what's the vibe? Like, what?
I didn't get that much into details. I just wanted to know if this was my last one.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
You gotta live it up. Truly.
I know.
This is it.
I know.
Wow.
I know. That's why I'm giving out my address. Anyone?
We're bleeping it out.
We have to.
No, I don't. I don't remember seeing that address, or maybe I do. I just don't remember what scene it was. I did recognize Sophie's apartment, kind of. Wasn't Chris Evans in Lower East Side though? Wasn't John in Lower East Side? That
They
feels
were
right.
they were driving somewhere. He drove her, I thought, across the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'm not gonna.
But I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. And I thought he could have been Lower East Side. I also thought maybe Queens.
That actually makes sense. Yeah. I actually don't have any hot takes.
I already gave mine.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good one. I think that point is really interesting. I feel like maybe it's time for us to get a proper Celine Song like script, like a as a playwright.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I would love.
I'm very curious as to what she does next. Her and her husband are making some really fascinating
Yeah.
films. I'm fans.
What does Justin have coming up? Does he have anything on the books?
He's got something with Luca and Daniel, but I think he's still writing it. And then he's got another untitled film with Jude Law that's reportedly inspired by the works of Mike Nichols. Wonder if Jude's playing Mike Nichols. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, but I don't think anything that's like coming out anytime soon. I think it seems like they're still being written.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, look, she's one of the only Asian women directors, writers working in Hollywood right now. Like
100%.
you know,
like just
so. Celine, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
yeah, and I should say not the only one working in Hollywood right now, but the one that's like ascended to a level that is the films are constantly in like awards contention, and they're getting funded by these bigger studios, which is like extraordinarily rare. So lots of Asians working. Just
yes, she's reached this point of like broader awareness that I feel like
slightly zeitgeisty with whatever she does, which I think is just really cool.
Except when she said Zootopia was her favorite film in the last 10 years, and then everyone just decided to rail on her.
She said that?
Yeah. She just, I mean, listen.
Look, I love Zootopia, so I agree.
Here's
not my favorite film.
I do have a hot take, and this is it. I need people to stop performing for cinephiles. If you like Zootopia, say that.
Yep.
But don't feel like you need to like say these titles.
Like the Criterion Collection, people like come in with these like really obscure titles. And like sometimes that's great. Yeah.
Right. It's great, but like if that's not what's calling to you right now, that's fine. You know?
Yeah.
So, that's my hot take.
If Clueless is your favorite film,
yeah. Wait, what's your top 4 on Letterboxd right now? Like if Letterboxd came to you with a mic and asked what your top 4 are, what are you telling them?
Ooh, this is a good question. I would say 2 of them are Indian.
Okay.
I would say this Indian movie called Bhikkhu. Mm-hmm. Another Indian movie called Omkara, which is like an adaptation of Othello. Mm-hmm. Musical,
Hence
beautiful.
The Iago monologue that you want to...
Yeah. Love him. And all his deceit. And Psycho.
Okay, that's 3.
Yeah, and then my 4th, I think
Just say it. Just say it.
I just don't. But I have a bougie one, and then I. Okay, so the dumb one is The Holiday.
Yeah, great. Love. You know,
Watch it every single year.
Yeah,
Love
man,
The Holiday.
Just lean in. You know.
Yeah,
That's
my bougie little cinephile one is it happened one night.
It happened one night. That's a good one.
The first rom-com,
Yeah.
technically. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What are yours?
Oh man, Kill Bill, Volume 1.
God, so good.
It's so good.
So
I
good.
love the original Halloween. Love the original Halloween.
That's it. I love that one too.
And then my two artsy ones, Interstellar and Moonlight.
I mean, good ones.
Yeah, but they're also very me. That's the thing. They're films that I'm not sure I could watch Moonlight time and time again, but Interstellar I could watch, like just for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a gay who wants to go to space for some reason.
But also, I did Taekwondo when I was young, so Kill Bill just has a special place for the choreography. Horror films, like they're all part of who I am at the core as a child. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the worst film you've ever seen?
The worst?
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, it's the one that upset me to no end. And I guess that's why I would consider it the worst. Although it's not like the worst film. Like the acting was great, the screenplay was great, but The Mist. Have you seen The Mist by Stephen King? Or it's
the original
Stephen King adaptation.
The original or the remake?
The remake that came out in 2008 or like 2009.
No, I never watched that was like in the slew of like PG-13 horror movies that kept coming out. Yeah. I did not watch it. I watched the original one.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, but I didn't watch the remake.
I'm not sure if the original has the same ending, but in this one, they're basically being attacked by like monsters while they're in a grocery store. They decide to leave. It's like the father, the son, and like a couple other people at the grocery store. They get in a car, and they think the world is ending. So the father basically kills his son and everyone else in the car, and is about to kill himself until the fucking mist dissipates, and the army rolls through with flamethrowers, and it is the most upsetting ending I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I remember hearing that because like yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I believe that is how the original ends, but the book is different. The book is. Yeah, the book is a little different, and I think a little less finite. Like it's a little bit more open ended, and so it's a little more like creepy. Yeah, the film is that does. I don't think that's different.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Deeply unsettling and deeply
And after a quick Google, apparently Stephen King approved of the ending.
Yeah, he's fucked up.
Yeah.
Love him, very talented, but he's fucked up. All right.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. That's actually like mine was like a dumb movie.
Which one?
Leprechaun.
Oh, so campy. I love the original Leprechaun. You know he like goes to the hood in one of them.
My friends and I watched it, and we did a double feature. Isn't it called Leprechaun 2 Back to the Hood?
Back to the Hood.
Oh no. Oh no.
It is. That's canon right there.
I forgot about that. I remember we watched it and we couldn't get through it. Like
it's so bad. It's so bad. That's like an objectively bad movie. The Mist is just one that just makes me so upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What is a movie that's made me... Oh, a movie that genuinely made me upset was this Hills Have Eyes remake that came out a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. That movie...
Yeah.
Just brutal. Don't like it. And I'm not a gore person. I don't like it. I don't need it. Anyways, Past Lives, Celine Song.
Materialist.
Oh my god, not Past Lives.
Yeah, I was going to say, great conversation, not Past Lives. Yeah, I'm glad we did this. This I know this was high on our list for both of us, so I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
you saw it as soon as you got back, and I'm glad that I saw it opening weekend, so we can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm glad there's a film like this that, regardless of how people feel about it, there's people are talking about it. It also, pretty sure it made its money back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the budget was like 20 mil. I think it made 12 on the opening weekend. I'm sure it did really good business this weekend. Just got word of mouth.
New original
Yes.
screenplays from like brown and black creators. Like, say what you will about all of it. That's what matters when people are going to go see it. And we both had pretty full theaters when we both saw it in our own time. So.
Oh, I did too. It was a lot of couples, and then it was like girls' night out. Like let's do it like a girlfriend's. It was nice. It was really good. The theater experience, I think, definitely heightened my overall favorability of the film. Like that communal experience was very nice. So
yeah, totally. Well, friends, family, loved ones, future dates that will go on.
You.
Now you're what? Not you outing me as single on this podcast.
You just we're ending it in 10 seconds, but you just said that you go on the apps, that you're on dating apps.
People didn't need to know that it's now. It could have been in the past, present, or future.
We'll bleep that out. Elijah, bleep that out.
Elijah, bleep everything I said out. I gave my address. I'm telling people my business.
All right. Bye.
This podcast is going to be the reason that I don't work. Okay, bye.